to join Don Neuen, co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio, and Denise Simon, host of the Denise Simon Experience, for a weekly situation report, or SITREP. 18 hours a day, Denise Simon lives her life as an Intel Analyst. 18 hours a day, Don Neuen lives his life in the world of rock and roll. 1 hour each day, Neuen receives a daily SITREP from Simon. Welcome to the Drive Time Situation Report. Fasten your seatbelt. You're now in Don Neuen's car, and he is calling in for his SITREP.
Hello.
Hey, good evening, Denise Simon. It's your buddy.
Hello, Don.
How was your day?
It's just full of stupidness.
All right, well, I hope you're going to share some of that stupidness with me and my carload of riders and friends that I'm bringing along with me on tonight's Drive Time SITREP. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you all to tonight's Drive Time Situation Report. On one end of this conversation, you've got myself, Don Neuen. I'm the co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio. But the most important person in this call is one Denise Simon, and she is the host of her own radio show, the Denise Simon Experience. Normally, throughout the week, on my drive home from work after a long and grueling day at the office, I give Denise Simon a call. And the reason that I do that is because while I've been working in the world of rock and roll, she has been working in the world as an intelligence analyst, sifting through articles, reading documents, watching hearings, going through this and going through that, so that when I give her a call, I can get a situation report or a SITREP on what has happened throughout the day, because I don't have the time in my world to go through Drudge Report and read through all the social media sites that are, quite frankly, Denise, full of fake news on a regular basis. But at any rate, ladies and gentlemen, one day a week, we bring you along for my ride home. I am in my personal car. I am speaking to you via my cell phone. We may have dropouts. You may hear a road noise. If it starts raining, you might hear that. Hopefully, I won't be involved in an accident, but by gosh, if I am, you're going to be with me when it happens. So at any rate, Denise, let's timestamp the show and get after it.
It is 9:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the 19th of June in the year of our Lord, 2018.
Excellent. Could not have done that better if I have coached you myself.
I rehearsed it for hours.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I need to preface her SITREP that she's about to give us with the fact that there are times when I call my sister from another mister, Denise Simon, up, and she's in a great mood, and we have a great conversation filled with jocularity and laughter. There are other times when I call her up, and she's so pissed off that she could poop barbed wire. I kind of feel like tonight's one of those nights where she's twisting off a big old piece of barbed wire. Am I close to Denise?
Yeah. All right. Let's start off with this. The FBI Hillary server email investigation. Hillary Clinton was never the subject. She was never the target of the investigation. Let's start with there. How about that one?
Why is that not shocking?
Well, it's official. It's official.
Yeah, but you know what? It's
I'm not
still
convinced.
not shocking.
I'm not convinced anybody was. I think whoever was assigned to it, they necessarily felt like they may have been doing the right thing, but when they the reports that kept going upstairs and upstairs and upstairs at the FBI, they didn't care. It was a gesture. So the interview on July the 3rd,
Yep. It lasted for about an hour.
He seizing of the laptops, the burning and the bleach pit, none of that stuff mattered except to us. Just where we are. All right. So I think there was
Now,
probably
hold on, Denise. Where was this revealed?
from our Inspector General Michael Horowitz today, because he did the same thing on the House side. He was there a very long time. I think he started at 10:30 and finished at 5, maybe?
Who was dragging Horowitz through a knothole backwards in our best
I don't know
interest?
that anybody really was. The Democrats all got the same memo, and they all got the questions, and they just kind of here's yours, and here's yours, and here's yours. And so, all of their questions were very, very much the same, just, put commas and whatever's in different places.
From the Democrats? Or is this from the Republicans as well?
No. The Republicans are independent thinkers. They clearly came from, interesting places in their questions. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I mean, I did. I probably gave it a rest for about 3 hours, but then I went back to it. So just so you know, it was really the work was being done, but or some work was being done, but when it kind of goes upstairs, there wasn't any kind of direction that says, okay, well, do you need a search warrant for this? Do you need to, call in this person, do a subpoena on this person, goes to be, all these different things. They weren't given any kind of direction, so it was clearly a gesture. And it was really never finished because Mr. Strzok bailed on it. He essentially called it closed, and it is closed by the FBI. There is no more Hillary investigation. And then he started in on the Russia investigation, and it looks like he was advising who should be on the Mueller team. It was almost as though he chose the people. Now, the word of the weeks that we have lived through has been paramour, because we know that Peter Strzok had a paramour by the name of Lisa Page, correct?
Yeah.
Lisa Page and Peter Strzok at one point were both on the Mueller team. He left. She stayed. Some of the text messages and instant messages were beginning to show up, and the FBI removed little Miss Lisa Page, and she went back to FBI. She has since quit, but it now is official that last Friday, Mr. Strzok, who was essentially demoted and sent over to the personnel office to kind of sit there and sharpen pencils, I guess, or whatever it was that he was doing, he was officially escorted out of the building last Friday. This is Tuesday. He was escorted out of the building last Friday. Now, that did not come up, by the way, in yesterday's hearings or today's hearings. Now, yesterday's hearings included Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI. Today's hearings was only Michael Horowitz. So somehow that little fact didn't come up. It was, interestingly enough, reported by Lauren somebody over at CNN. Washington Examiner picked it up, then the chatter got around to verify it. Fox News called his attorney and asked if that was correct, that did happen, that he was escorted out of the building, and the attorney said yes. But we have another paramour condition here that actually kind of had to really be paying attention. I may even have to go back and listen to it again, because we have yet another little love fest within the FBI, and that was with an FBI investigator and another FBI somebody, so two in the FBI, but they were both anti-Trumpers, and that is Sally Moyer, and she was having an affair, or is having an affair, I don't know if it's past or present tense, with another FBIer. Now, I just as before you called, I decided that I was going to pull up the FBI ethics and integrity policy directive. And so I did, and it's 332 pages. So obviously I haven't read it, but I did a little search term on the PDF document and put in interpersonal relationships, affairs, romance, any of those kinds of words, and none of those words are mentioned in the document. They may have some other little adjective that they're using for this condition, but I don't know what it is yet. However, we do know from the Inspector General report that FBI agents cannot accept gifts from anybody. Now, if they do get gifts, including foreign gifts or any of those other kinds of things, there is a procedure. I haven't read it yet, but we do know that we have a handful of these FBIers that were getting gifts, and some substantial gifts, from members of the press.
That's correct. That's correct. And some of them, like you just said, are substantial. All right, let's walk back a little bit on this. Denise, if the FBI is charged with the task of investigating a former Secretary of State because of violations, and quite frankly, if I'm not mistaken, violations that could have to do with espionage, how is it when they are derelict in their duties or remiss in their actual investigation that a closed investigation that was not properly done in the first place, or ethically done in the first place, or legally done in the first place, can actually be considered closed? Secondly, how is this not some massive crime that has the words conspiracies to commit blank in front of it? I don't see how this can go unpunished, and quite frankly, the investigation should be reopened.
Well, and interestingly enough, Senator Lindsey Graham, and I know a lot of people don't like Lindsey Graham for countless reasons, but yesterday he made an absolutely compelling presentation to the Inspector General declaring that very thing.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Don Neuen, and while I run and live in the world of rock and roll, I think like a senator. Don't you agree, Denise?
Yeah, like Lindsey Graham.
No, don't say that. Don't ruin my moment.
You earned it.
Okay, all right. So, please tell me that the damn house of cards may fall and fall apart.
I can't. I just can't do it. Now, here's an interesting thing. And I don't like to, come up with some kind of little conspiracy theory or these kind of things. But there's a couple of things that are in motion here, and I'm just going to throw them out for the listeners to kind of, tilt their head and raise an eyebrow about. All right? Because I would say there was a time that Comey was writing an early exoneration memo on Hillary, correct?
Yeah.
Well, no, let me take that back. A memo about Hillary. I don't know if it was exoneration. And then somehow
how about a forgiveness memo?
Well, I'm not going to say that because we don't know the specifics, although we're told by media, and of course, we can't believe them. But we do know that there was some early memo. And then Peter Strzok got a hold of it because apparently Comey put in there, whatever word he used, dereliction of documents, or, duty to protect, or blah, 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 blah. And then it was Peter Strzok or Andrew McCabe or, one of the others, Peter Kadzik or James Baker or whoever. And they changed it to carelessness.
Right.
I'm of the notion that perhaps, and I don't have, I defended Comey for a while. And then I felt like I couldn't defend Comey because, the more you learn, I just can't believe that a guy who was a head of an agency would be this insubordinate, that seems to be the word, as he has been. But I think some part of his team was actually worse than he was. And I think we're beginning to find some of that out. And I think that team was worse than he was because there was this direct connection between the Hillary camp and Terry McAuliffe and McCabe's wife, Jill, that essentially said, she's been exonerated here. You guys just, if you want to go through the motions, and we're going to call this a security review, which is what Hillary was calling it, but Comey wasn't. He was calling it an investigation until Loretta Lynch said call it a matter. But anyway, I have a feeling that the Obama White House went to Terry McAuliffe, and Terry McAuliffe went to Jill McCabe. Jill McCabe went to Andrew or the McCabe household and said, hey, she's essentially been given immunity. So your agents can do whatever the agents are going to do, but when the reports and the case file gets upstairs, it's going to be treated as nothing more than a gesture.
And let me guess. Hold on. Let me guess. You stick all these people in front of Congress. They're sworn under oath. They all take the fifth.
Well, now here's what's fascinating. Our little Mr. Strzok, who was walked out of the building last Friday, he has in fact declared that he is very willing to testify without immunity, and he will not apply his Fifth Amendment privilege.
Why would he do that?
Don't know.
Well, I mean, look into the crystal ball. Why do you think he would do something like that?
I've looked at it I learned about that one last, Friday or Saturday, and I spent the weekend trying to chew on that one, and I can't. Unless what he is going to do, because his lawyer came out with some kind of a cockamamie thing today, unless he's going to bury Comey. He's going to dump it all on Comey. Because remember, I think he said he's not going down, or no, maybe it was McCabe. He's going to take other people down with him. So I think maybe McCabe and Strzok have decided, Comey's out, he's buried anyway, no harm, no foul, right? We'll just dump on this guy.
Who else could he take down? Could he take Lynch down?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Lynch? Well, I don't know where the connective tissue really was between the FBI and the Department of Justice with Loretta Lynch, except for Comey. I don't know that unless James Baker, or Peter Kadzik, or some of the others that were in the legal department, the FBI interacted with the Sally Yateses or the Loretta Lynches of the world. We don't know that. And see, that's particularly interesting.
You know they did. They did.
I can't prove it, so I can't really say it. However, I will say this. Why was that not part of Michael Horowitz's Inspector General report?
I'm going to guess that it was because the definition of the Inspector General report cleverly avoided that.
So, do we challenge? I mean, we learned a lot of things in this Inspector General report, many of which we already knew. We just got a little more context with it, and there are a lot of conflicts in it, with what people had to say and what people didn't do, blah, 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 blah. But there were clearly some things that were missing in that, and there is one of them right there. I mean, do we even read about Terry McAuliffe and Jill McCabe? You see what I'm saying?
I didn't in the 70 pages I read.
Yeah, I haven't finished it either. I mean, I got to, probably page 190 to 200. So,
way to one-up me, Denise. Way to one-up me.
I know. But see, this is what's fascinating here. When you start standing back and looking at the bigger picture, and not one Democrat yesterday and not one Democrat today said, hey, it was illegal for Hillary to have all documents, briefings, conversations, text messages, faxes, all these kinds of things. All of the communications, ambassadors, Benghazi, waivers, all these kinds of things. All of them were on a quasi, maybe secure server, but we know that it wasn't secure because now we found out in the Inspector General's report that there were rogue logins from foreign entities.
Yeah. Well, clearly, in my opinion, the Democrats are not asking any questions.
No.
Because they're protecting the precious. They're protecting Barack Obama, the Obama administration, and Hillary Clinton, and the DNC. They're protecting all of that stuff, Denise. Don't you? I mean, isn't that what your gut's telling you?
Yeah, I mean, I clearly understand that, but what their bigger message really is here is Vive la Resistance, which was one of those text messages. That is the position that they're all taking on Trump and his entire administration. So if you dismiss the pity party that they're still having on Hillary, dismiss all that over to the side, their words are really still, there is nothing that this man, nothing, and I mean it is more profound every day to hear them, that Trump can do that will ever be acceptable. And I'll tell you another reason why is what happened today. We had all these Democrats, and I don't know how many of them, I'm going to say probably a half a dozen or so, maybe a dozen, that in various locations they went to look at the detention centers, the holding facilities, or whatever they are for these immigrants, these illegals that are coming across the border. All right. Now they've packaged it such that there are 10,000 kids, and 10,000 kids have been separated from their mothers or alleged parents or fathers or whatever. Okay. I think the number is around 70 or so, the real number. But nonetheless, the way they say it, the way they
Oh, I know. The way they say it, you think that the United States has turned into Nazi Germany, and we've got concentration camps set up, and we're starting to march children into gas chambers. That's the way it sounds with the mainstream media.
And it's not just media. It's the politicians themselves. It is people that were in high office and that are in high office. They're all saying it essentially the same way. Okay, so now what has happened is you've got a handful of Republicans, one being even Ted Cruz, that has said, hey, and the language is very interesting in Ted Cruz's bill that he introduced yesterday on how you keep these parents together. Well, because he's given the wiggle room or the decision-making authority to Customs and Border Patrol, which is where it is already anyway, on who's going to be separated and why. Now, we do have some fencing inside the buildings. That is without dispute. But here's the deal. Do we want just to put all women, all men, all children, all everything, all in the same bullpen? I mean, it would end up looking like the Sugar Bowl, the Sugar Dome, whatever, the New Orleans thing.
Yeah, the Superdome during Katrina.
Yes.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Would be raped. You'd have rapes taking place.
Yes.
It would be a disaster.
Yes. And then we haven't checked who's got what disease of various sorts, good, bad, or indifferent, who is actually got sick, some kind of flu, some kind of this, who needs to get medical attention. There are some kids that are here that have come into the United States that have not been accompanied by anybody, period, because they were just dumped off someplace by a mule. There are others that are allegedly saying that they are the parent or the guardian, and they're not. So there's lots of other conditions, and see, it's the Customs and Border Patrol that has to make that determination within a matter of hours. You see what I mean? To determine you go to the left and you go to the right kind of thing. But then after, I think the number is after 3 days, the children become essentially a ward, if you will, not of ICE, not of Customs and Border Patrol, but they become a ward of Health and Human Services. Now, Health and Human Services has this, I would call it a nasty list, but they have a list of what are necessarily approved, air quotes, organizations that help place these children somewhere or get them to their final destination. Oh, there's this uncle that's in Pittsburgh, and we've got some kind of a cousin 3 times removed over in Tulsa. Okay, and so then they make those travel arrangements, or they tell those people, come get your child or this person, blah, 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 blah. Well, you've got the Methodist Church, which is one of the worst ones. You got the Catholic Church. You've got some of these other organizations. Then you got guardian ad litem's. And then you got people that we don't know what they are. And I say that because, interestingly enough, and I will tell you that it actually came from the New Yorker magazine, one of the more leftist magazines out there, that in 2015, I believe it was, they wrote an article, fascinatingly enough, about how many of these kids under the Obama administrations were handed over to human traffickers. I also remember distinctly reading that some of them were put on into agricultural operations and essentially became slave labor, and they're living in squalor and out there, picking grapes or, whatever else that there is that they're doing, avocados and potatoes. And actually, okay, that was written in January of 2016. They did that HHS handed child migrants to human traffickers. So this administration, our own media, needs to truly fight back and get out that exact data. And we're not doing.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Denise. There's only one person on the planet that can get that data out and those articles out. It's not Fox News. It's not Brett Baer. It's not Shepard Smith. It's not Tucker Carlson or any of the people at Fox or Fox Business or One America News. It's not Mark Levin. It's not Rush Limbaugh. I'll tell you who it is. It's Donald Trump and that which we have chastised him for over and over, and his tweets. That's where it needs to come from. Because at that point, Donald Trump tweeting is either going to be acknowledged by the mainstream media because they go after every one of his tweets anyway. But if he exposes this in tweets, it's the only shot, in my opinion, of it being able to crack the mainstream media and force them to report on this.
Here's what I would do.
Like idiots.
If I was Sarah Sanders, and every day for the next 2 to 3 weeks, when she holds a White House press briefing, as she begins the thing, I would be giving actual handouts with factual statistics on them that come from Customs and Border Patrol, that come from ICE, that come from Health and Human Services, that come from all of these quasi non-government agencies that Health and Human Services hired under the Obama administration to place these people, these kids, these parents, these, how they're getting there, the airplanes, the trains, the buses, whatever. And I would, every single day, I'd be giving them new statistics. And then if they go report something wrong, we go, hey, we gave you the facts and you didn't use them. And because the White House press briefings with Sarah Sanders are televised. They're not only just televised on, whatever, cable or network TV, but they're also on C-SPAN. So that can be a real, true moment in redefining and taking back the debate. Because they're using it.
I agree.
Here's the thing. Because Trump trots on over to the Hill today to meet with the Republicans in the House. And maybe, I don't know if there's any senators there, but I know he was at the House. And Chuck Schumer already came out, and several other Democrats already came out and essentially said, whatever the Republicans come up with to fix this problem, we're still not going to vote for it. We're still not going to do it. We're not going to sign on, which says to you they're going to force the Republicans to own this thing all the way through the midterms and all the way through 2020. They've already declared the political war, that they are not going to be part of the solution. They're only going to be sand in the gears. So they have taken this moment with the ProPublica audio, I might add, with the kids crying in the background. And they're taking that, they're using the kids as a political tool, and they're going to fly it all the way through 2020. When they've already declared they ain't going to sign on, they're not going to vote, they'll abstain, they'll go, on vacation or whatever. So they have forced every single Republican, the Goodlatte bill, the DACA thing, the Ryan, the Cruz, everybody, they own it. They're handing it to, which is really what they were trying to do with Obamacare too. Remember, now that the Republicans failed at least twice in repealing Obamacare, you can't call it Obamacare anymore. We're calling it Trump Care. So now you have Trump detention centers, when in fact the detention centers have gone on for years and years and years. Do you remember how many military bases that had to be converted?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. So let me ask you this. What do the Republicans do? Because those of us that have brain cells, those of us that our religion is not the liberal progressive mindset and ideology, and that we're not married to a political party, those of us that can think on our own see clear through this. What did the Republican Party do to fight this kind of absolute?
See, and they're good with behavior. This, and this is where Trump missed it today and yesterday. I would say he's got this zero tolerance policy for breaking the law, but every one of them now are asking him, because he's saying, Congress, you better go fix this. And of course, we just heard, I just explained that the Democrats are not going to do it, so they're going to leave it to the Republicans to fix it. But in the meantime, they're going to put their hands on their hips, so they're going to stomp their feet, and they're going to say, Trump can fix this in a matter of 5 seconds. All he has to do is sign an executive order. Oh, an executive order not to follow the law. It was okay, and nobody had a problem with it when Obama did it, and now they want to force Trump to do the same thing. So they're asking Trump to be the judge, jury, and executioner of laws that are on our books, and to tell ICE, Department of Justice, Border Patrol, HHS, and everybody else, do not follow the law. He's signing a executive order that he's giving everybody a pass, and the 50,000, the 60,000, just come on in, go wherever you want. And by the way, we'll take you there on our dime. We don't care what it's doing to the emergency rooms for healthcare. We don't care what it's doing to the schools. And by the way, we want these people to have a $5,000 worth of spending money while they're, you know what I mean? I mean, nobody has thought this.
From what I can tell, Trump is not going to do that.
Well, of course he's not. But this is why the Democrats are winning at this. They're winning at this. The United Nations came out today against this. You've got a handful of governors that have come out against this. You've got churches. You've got some of them are filing suits. Some of them are pulling back their National Guard that they put on the border. Some of them have stopped the funding.
But what are they coming out against? It's a myth.
It doesn't matter, Don. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so if you've got a bunch of schmucks on the left wing that are coming out against something that doesn't exist, then prove to the world that it doesn't exist. Prove to the world and make them look like a-holes.
Well, and that is why.
I hope I can say that on the air.
That is why, there has to be a counter messaging team in the Trump White House, and there's clearly not. They're always on the defensive. They're not on the offensive.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the way it's been for a while. But I'm telling you, I agree with you that Sarah Huckabee Sanders needs to be inundating the press with statistics, facts,
absolutely,
sheets, whatever.
Handout.
But I'm
telling
every day.
You, and then while we're at it, in case they don't want to read it, you know what? Do a PowerPoint presentation up on the wall.
Yeah, I agree. That needs to happen. But there's only one person on the planet that can lay it out with more power and more viewership than Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Well, I understand that, but who else was in that position that Kirstjen Nielsen is in, that is in that White House, and that's General John Kelly. He was in that job before. So, nobody is better to advise him on really what is happening than Kelly. And where's Kelly in all of this?
Don't know. Can't keep up with all these people, Denise.
I'm trying.
All right, take a breather, drink some sweet tea or whatever you got there. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring you up to speed on what you're listening to in case you joined the show late, or especially if this is the first time that you've joined us. This is the Drive Time Situation Report. You've got on one end of this conversation the stellar Denise Simon, Intel Analyst at large. You've got on the other end of this conversation me, Don Neuen, co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm in my car driving home at night after a long day at work. It's now 9:44 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm getting a situation report from Denise Simon, and so are you. We call it a SITREP, and you're listening to the Drive Time SITREP. Something I'd like for you to do, either after you're finished listening to this show, or if you can do it in a different window, whatever you want to do, go to Denise's website. Her personal website is founderscode.com. It's an unbelievably great website that is full of nothing but Denise Simon's work. And the great thing about Denise Simon's work is that you can bank on it. It's well vetted. She does all the work for you, so that when you go read this, you know you're not reading fake news. You know you're not reading watered down opinions. What you're reading is factual content that you can then share or repost or discuss with integrity. One of the biggest things conservatives are failing to do is vet information. And then we get out there and we talk about this or we talk about that or we like this or we share that. And the next thing you know, you look like a schmuck because you've sent out bogus information from one of the many, many, many bogus websites. Denise Simon's website is something that you can actually lend credibility to and repost with integrity. There's another website that Denise is a part of, and that's politicalvanguard.com. This website is run by our good friend Tom Del Beccaro, and that too is a site that is well vetted. Denise, you can vouch for that. Every time you submit an article to Tom, what's he do? He gets on the phone with you, or he talks to you through emails and makes sure that everything's this and this and this, and then he posts it, right?
Correct.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to start following well-vetted information and stop following bogus, sensational nothingness. And by going to founderscode.com, you're doing that. By going to politicalvanguard.com, you're doing that. Denise, what is Trevor Loudon's site? Because that site's another great, well-vetted site of integrity.
It's the New Zeal blog.
All right, I don't know is it newzealblog.com or something like that?
Yeah, let me
All right, well, while you're looking that up, one last thing, ladies and gentlemen. When you go to founderscode.com, Denise's website, you can enter your email in a box and subscribe to her daily post newsletters. Anytime she sends up a post, writes an article, it'll come to you in your inbox. I really encourage you guys to do that. I'm telling you, you need to fight back against all the bogus, fake news, and irresponsible reporting that's taking place both on the left and the right. This is not exclusive to the progressives that are writing lies. There's just as many of them coming from bogus right-wing organizations that you can't put your credibility. You look like a fool when you post this stuff. So founderscode.com. Denise, what is Trevor's site again?
It's called the New Zeal blog, but it is Trevor Loudon, LOUDON.com.
What are some other websites that you encourage people to go to?
Noisyroom.net, gulagbound.com. Those are all the ones that seem to prevail out there. Town Hall does very good work, although I don't contribute to that. They do very good work over there.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the starting point for you needs to be founderscode.com. End of story. Also, share that website if you don't mind. Denise and I do this show with absolutely no ad revenue. Matter of fact, we do all of our shows with no ad revenue. The Denise Simon Experience that comes on Thursday at 9 p.m., Cowboy Logic Radio that comes on Tuesday night at 9 p.m., Drive Time SITREP Wednesday, 9 p.m. We're doing all these shows and we're not making a penny doing it. We're doing it to try to restore America from the destruction that has been taking place. Plus, Denise, who's your favorite talk radio host?
Don Neuen.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how great is he?
11.
He's an 11, ladies and gentlemen. Straight from Denise Simon's osculatory orifice. You know what that is, Denise?
Yes.
Your mouth.
It sounds like it needs a proctologist.
No, not at all. All right, Denise. We got about 10 minutes. Let's get back to it.
Here's the other thing that I would suggest. And I actually sent this suggestion to somebody that you and I both know that has very well connected to the White House. But I would say that every single state.gov website in every foreign country, those that we have, for the French, any of our embassies and diplomatic posts, all visa application pages need to come down. Take them down. We're not going to help people with those visas anymore. Then we're going to take those people that are assigned to issue visas or any kind of travel blah, blah, blahs to anybody to the United States. We're going to reduce that staff down to 1 per diplomatic post wherever it is in the world. And we're going to bring those people back to the United States, all but 1. And we're going to send them to the southern border so they can help process some of this paperwork. And if people start to complain that they can't, their wait times in order to get a visa to come to the United States for whatever reason, travel or otherwise, is taking months and months and months, you know what? You blame it on the illegals.
Sounds like a pretty good idea to me. A lot of the solutions that you come up with and that you have come up with to the many problems that we have it doesn't take a real rocket scientist to figure this stuff out, Denise. I'm not saying that you're not highly intelligent, nor am I saying that you shouldn't be considered at some point in your life to maybe be a rocket scientist, but you don't need to be one to come up with the ideas that you come up with.
I would also say that anybody that gets to the southern border, they're automatically going to be turned away. We're not going to take anybody, because I would say that we go establish, and in some of those countries we already have military bases, like in Honduras and Colombia and blah, 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 blah. If we can have a military base here in the United States at the detention center, we'll put the detention centers and those application processes back in their home countries, El Salvador and Honduras and Guatemala. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, good idea. Hey, do we have a military base in Mexico?
U.S. military base, I don't think we do officially, but we do co-locate.
Co-locate. That's a big catchword, huh?
Uh-huh. Yes, it is.
All right, well, listen, let's move away from the immigration thing for a second and go back to what we were talking about at the top of the show, which is this absolute disaster for our country that was taking place in the upper echelons of some of our agencies, that be it the Justice Department, the FBI, State Department, maybe, CIA, maybe, and without a doubt, the Obama White House.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me, that's the mother lode right there. And that's what everybody's trying to protect. When do you anticipate that some of the revelations that took place today in that hearing are going to actually start moving the ball down the field like we need it to move and like America needs it to move? Because at what point, Denise, do we say, hey, you know what? This is treasonous. This is sedition. This is a coup attempt. I don't see why this is not already being labeled by our lawmakers, especially in the Republican Party, as being a coup attempt.
I can't deny that. And by the way, we do not have official military bases there, although we do have what we would call a fusion center that, several of our people operate, FBI or FEMA or ATF or DEA. So
right.
We don't have, but, that's not to say that we can't necessarily expand some of them and have that process happen there. Look,
all right, well,
we're not finished, and this isn't going to be finished. I mean, I don't see Mueller having his operation finished by midterms. I just don't see it. If Lindsey Graham tells the Inspector General that he needs to open yet another investigation, or don't close it and add to his 568 pages, I mean, that will take another 14 months. You see what I'm saying? What consequence we want, we're not going to get. We just have to admit that.
I'm not willing to do that.
No.
I'm just not. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are listening to this show, I can't imagine that you are willing to do that either. You and I talked the day after the election in 2016, and we both clearly knew what was going to happen. The left wing, the progressive movement, was going to do everything they could to stall and stagnate and cut off the legs of Donald Trump. And that's all that's been going on since day one. Can you imagine what we could have been accomplishing as a country if the mainstream media and the left wing would not have been trying to invoke a coup
let's ask this
against
question.
this president?
Let's ask this question. Let's just suppose that this was John F. Kennedy as president, or this was Nixon as president, or this was Bill Clinton as president. I mean, let's go back. It was Eisenhower. You know what I'm saying? What would they have done if some opposing party had virtually intruded, interfered, and obstructed their administrations. What would what would John Kennedy have said if we Republicans had said to John Kennedy, we don't care that there are nuclear weapons and Russians coming into Cuba and there's a Cuban Missile Crisis. We don't want you to go do some kind of a, water embargo, and we don't want the guy, just keep Castro there. We don't care. You want Che Guevara, he can stay too. Can you imagine?
No, I can't. I can't imagine. I never imagined what is taking place would have taken place in the United States. I thought more of all of the people in the United States. I thought we had more integrity. I thought we had raised the bar higher. I thought that we all had at least some ethics. But I'm telling you, Denise, for the last year and a half, I have realized that many on the left wing and the progressives do not have a soul.
I don't disagree with that. I cannot disagree with that. But I'm going to leave you with some good news, shall I? At 5 o'clock,
shall.
I wrote about this earlier today because I got the heads up. So I wrote about it early, but officially at 5 o'clock this afternoon, Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made a formal announcement today that the United States has withdrawn from the United Nations Human Rights Council. United Nations Human Rights Council. Now, I will tell you this.
Is a fraud.
There are 37 nations in there. I have the list of the 37 nations, and some of them are just ridiculous that it shouldn't even be on the council to start with. But just to put it in perspective, when George W. Bush was president, he took us out. We were not in the Human Rights Council during his administration. Barack Obama put us back in.
Of course.
We are now out.
All right, well, that's a bit of good news to close the show, which we have to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we sure do appreciate the fact that you have devoted 52 minutes of your valuable time to our radio show, the Drive Time SITREP. We don't take that lightly, and it means the world to us. It's exactly why we do it. Denise, we got to say goodnight. Do it as only you do it.
Good night. Thanks for being with us, and God bless America.